Well, I think that there's an assumption, and certainly an assumption in the Western world after the Second World War, that that every generation of young people is somehow innately more democratic, more open, more free, more striving towards freedom, more liberal, more reform-minded, more pro-democratic. I think that's an assumption that really needs to be tested, because looking at the way things are evolving in Ukraine and in Russia and in some of the other countries, we cannot take that for granted. If institutions of power are not set up in a way where young people can participate and can somehow turn this idealism that they have into a pro-reform approach, and to a feeling of their activism being appreciated, they may be totally alienated from the institutions of state. I would say what Ukraine lacks actually is a vision that young people could support. Ukraine's leaders have been very bad at articulating any kind of positive vision, a vision of a reformed Ukraine that that young people can take a look at and move towards. So in all ways, I think the older generation is failing the younger generation, not bringing them in, trying to manipulate them, and in a sense, kind of going back to a sort of Soviet style where youth is an object, as opposed to young people being the subject and owners of their own fate. So we can't just take it for granted that by default young people will somehow bring positive change to the country. We have to create avenues and opportunities for them to do so, and that's come through in a lot of the research that I've done. You can see what's happened in Egypt, which is the most recent example of a youth-led protest that actually did bring down the government. Young people made Tahrir Square happen. And what do we have now? A situation where young people have been excluded from any institutions of government, and a system that is really floundering in its way forward, with the sort of more established, with the sort of old guard coming